The Porsche 911 has gone hybrid.
Look, I know, shock, horror, but it's actually a good thing. Trust me, it is.
And we've grabbed New Zealand's first 992.2 GTS to show you just how good it is.
Welcome to the garage.
Subscribe to see the first drives of New Zealand's newest and best cars driven on New Zealand roads and New Zealand conditions. Iconic, definitive, perfect. All words regularly used to describe the Porsche 911.
It's a heck of a template to work with, and a cynic might say that the team responsible for creating this 992.2 version had the easiest job in the world.
That silhouette, the layout, it never changes. But look at it another way. Imagine how hard it is to improve on perfection, or at least as close as a sports car gets to perfection. The reality is that the 911 is constantly evolving, getting bigger, faster, heavier, and nowadays it also has to get more environmentally friendly.
Which brings me to the big thing about the 992.2 GTS. It is a hybrid 911. Surely that's enough to make any Porsche file shudder, but you don't need to. Because what Porsche have done here is, the antithesis, not just of a Prius, it's even more than that.
You see, with the 992, Porsche haven't gone down the plug-in lead of cars like the Lamborghini Ruelto and McLaren Artura.
No, Porsche have gone the other way. They've made the engine bigger. When does that happen nowadays? They've swapped that 3-litre twin turbo for a 3.6-litre flat 6 with only one turbocharger. But it's a big turbocharger. It also has a 20 kilowatt electric motor inside it.
Just like the Porsche 919 that Kiwis Brendan Hartley and Earl Bamber drove to victory in the 24 hours of Le Mans.
Only this setup is even more clever.
That electric motor in the turbo works like an anti-lag system, or if you like, a supercharger, and it can also generate power, which can be delivered by a second motor ahead of the gearbox, and that can also generate charge. It makes this car cleaner and more efficient.
But the biggest impact, and it's huge, is on performance.
On paper, this new GTS produces 398 kilowatts. That's 541 brake horsepower. By comparison, that's 61 horsepower up and 40 more newtons than the last GTS.
But it's the way it delivers those numbers. This feels like a big block V8, not like a Turbo 6. You know, I said before that the 911's all about evolution. I'm going to make a small correction. This is a revelation. Man, forget boost. This is a surge, a colossal surge, especially when you push this sports response button. I actually want to show you something here. I'll see if I can just take off this GoPro, because this is the view of those wheel arches. I just love it. And how about this? This two-wheel drive GTS will go from 0 to 100 in 3 seconds. That's just the two-wheel drive model. At the same time, it will deliver fuel economy in the single figures. It's better than 30 miles per gallon in the old school way of measuring it. I mean, that's probably impressive.
There is always a catch, and in this case it's a 50 kilo weight increase over the last model. That's thanks to the 400 volt battery pack and the electric motors. But that increase is literally outweighed, not just by the power bump, but because that 400 volt battery also powers the electronic roll bars and the uprated dynamic chassis control.
It's a lot to take in from both the powertrain and a chassis standpoint. The easy way to explain it is it just works. The irony is, you know, from behind the wheel, there's nothing to make this feel like a hybrid. It just feels surprisingly analog. That hybrid element, that motor in the turbo, is taking away any turbo lag, so it feels like there's no turbo. Not to mention the sound and the throttle response. It's just lightning. And all the while, that 400-volt battery is also adding grunt to the chassis as well as the powertrain in the same way. It's wizardry just working away in the background. Those active roll bars make this super responsive, and that 50 kilos extra. The truth is, this feels lighter than ever. It also makes it incredibly compliant for a car capable of being this extreme.
Basically, everything is both easier and quicker. Even the nose lift, which now takes just over a second to get the front splitter clear of trouble. The 992.2 GTS is now at Giltrap Porsche, and this two-wheel drive version is priced from $345,900. Going for the four-wheel drive, that starts at $362,900. You can find out more about this car or any of the great range of Porsche at Giltrap.com, home to more than 1,000 of the world's best cars, where you can browse, compare, finance and purchase all online. But the changes aren't limited just to the way that version 992.2 drives. Those familiar looking headlights now include indicators, allowing Porsche to zhoosh up the front bumper. And look, there's also new active air vents. Now the tailpipes now take centre stage at the rear, and the GTS gets centre lock wheels.
Of course, the interior is fully GTS, which is that perfect mix between sporty extreme and comfort. There's just enough Alcantara to go with the leather. I should note too, the big change now is the dash. The main display is now fully digital, which could be a bit of a hit for those fans of that analog rev counter.
But you can ease the pain by selecting the motorsport flavoured red line at 12 o'clock. Now every GTS comes standard with Sport Chrono. What they don't get is the twist start. It's now done by a button.
But the lightning fast startup, listen to this thing, and that's all thanks to the electric motor that's in between the engine and the gearbox. I think it more than makes up for it. So does the sound of this thing.
The performance and speed on offer makes it too easy to focus just on the performance of this new GTS.
And that's the thing too, because if I dial back into normal mode, this car becomes phenomenally relaxed. It's a piece of cake to drive on a country road or in town. And that four-wheel steering makes it even easier. You're never caught out by tight turns, U-turns or anything like that. And that same big block instant torque, well, bit of a hoot out here on the open road, makes this phenomenally tractable when you're caught in traffic.
Less practical for everyday motoring, the rear seats. Credit to Porsche though, they're now an option. This car is sold initially as a two-seater.
You know, it is the compliance that stands out the most. It's a hallmark of any GTS. I've said it before, they are the sweet spot of any Porsche model, and this one, man, it's the sweetest yet. I know it's straight out of Stuttgart, but it really does feel like this car was created with New Zealand roads in mind. It's that good.
The 911, it just keeps getting more clever, faster and greener.
And best of all, it just keeps getting better. What a drive, what a day. The 911 still sets the standard for sports cars. I say that though, that there's a clue in the name here, GTS. This, as the 911 grows, really is a GT sports car. Man, oh man, it still is the sweet spot. Now the last 911 GTS, it was awesome. This, it's awesomer.